So it turns out my sourdough starter and I have developed a rapport, as it were, because I remember being so terrified when I first started, and I started finally because I really wanted homemade bagels, and the bagels that I was trying to make were coming out like not cooked all the way, and I had to use yeast, and the yeast made my tummy ache. So I sucked it up and I went for it. And it took almost a full 2 months because I started it in the middle of winter in Florida, which isn't very cold, but it's too cold for starter. Colder than it would like. And it was a thing. I was really like, what is happening? I'd go by and sniff it every day, and then I'd feed it too much. And then somebody said, stop feeding it so much. It's cold, it's working slower, so feed it when it peaks. Feed it and leave it alone till it does double. And I did, and boom, I have the most active and lively and fantastic and moody, moody like me, starter that there is. And I haven't named her because the best name in the world already belongs to two different starters, but we'll see. We'll see. I've spent my time smelling it every time, and I spent my time just doing all these things to get to know my starter. One of the big things that I'd been stressed about was I couldn't understand how the whole counter versus fridge thing worked. Cut to today, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, but really yesterday and today, I've been working on making a bunch of dough for pizza for this dinner that we're having, the family and stuff next week. And then with it, there's also a breakfast, and I want there to be avocado toast, so I made 3 loaves. Prepped 3 loaves. I've baked 2, and I ended up having to prep another loaf because the first one I baked went flat. And it's because every single time I bake a loaf, things are a little different. I might decide to do this, I might decide to do that. And it's very much about figuring out what really works for me. It turns out my dough prefers to come out of the fridge, get sliced, and put in the oven. It does not like to sit on the counter, get sliced, and put in the oven because it stays very flat. Oh, yeah, it's probably overproof, but we bake anyways. So that one we're baking to eat in the house. I say all of this to say you have to get to know your starter. Every time you go to feed it, I pretty much was sniffing it every time I walked by it because I was so freaking excited for things to start happening. I would sniff it every day, and you sniff it. If you're going to go feed it, sniff it before you feed it, and then sniff it after. And you know what things smell like when it's hungry or where it's just eaten and it's still got food. Um, with the bread, you're going to have to try a few things. And the biggest thing I will tell you is take notes. Whether it's the highlights, the things you definitely want to remember, or it's everything, what you want to remember and what you cannot, what you need to forget or not do again. Uh, so that every time you make, like the first 10 loaves, I did that religiously. I wrote all the notes so that I had an idea of what was working for me, and then I put those together. And I don't look at the notes anymore, but I could have today. But a flat loaf is still delicious, it's just not as pretty. So I baked 2 today, and one was flat and one was not. So the was not is finishing cooling and going in the freezer. So I have it ready for next week. It's not next week, it's like in a couple days. So Sunday, I think. Sunday or Monday, I don't remember. Yeah, get to know your starter and listen to your loaf